So there's two ways that you can react to an obstacle in life. You can either allow it to stop you, give up, admit defeat, or you can get resourceful. You can find a way around it, over it, under it. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. So one of the best examples of this that I saw recently in the news is the UFC's move with Fight Island. Now, you've probably heard of this, but the UFC, like many sports organizations around the world, they have been crippled by this COVID-19 and all the resulting restrictions. Their fans can't attend events, international athletes and their teams, they can't travel. So the president and part owner of the UFC, Dana White, who, by the way, I respect a lot, he's really committed to his company, he had to get creative, right? So in March this year, the UFC, they had their event planned in London and it gets canceled. And then broadcasters start telling Dana White to stand down from letting UFC 249 go ahead, which was in April. So he's got all these obstacles in his way. So he starts looking for solutions. And the first way that they tried to solve the problem was holding events in the US. They did one in Jacksonville and then Las Vegas, and there were no fans allowed to attend. And it worked, kind of. But a lot of the international fighters, they couldn't come into the USA and compete. So in April, he comes up with the idea of getting an island to host events centered around international fighters during this whole pandemic. And many people thought it was crazy. It sounded crazy, the idea of getting an island and doing all the bouts there. But 3 months later, it's happening. The first event is scheduled this very weekend. Now, the location is Yas Island, which is in Abu Dhabi, and they've nicknamed it Fight Island. So it's 9.6 square miles. It's a decent sized island. They've done Formula One Grand Prix there since 2009. They've had Beyonce and Madonna, the Rolling Stones come in, do concerts there. So the Abu Dhabi government, they're paying for a lot of this arrangement. And for them, it's a great move because they get to promote their country as a tourist destination and they're going to get enormous exposure. But this whole thing took a lot of organization, especially to get it done so quickly. Airports, government departments, airlines, all these different departments had to work together. But now it's become a reality. They've got 2,000 people there, many of them UFC staff. They've done 10,000 tests recently for COVID-19 for the people there. And fights are actually starting this weekend, 2 a.m. in the morning, so they can stream it around the world, especially to the USA where their biggest audience is. Now, here's the point of this story. Dana White, he had a choice. He could have just put everything on hold and said, we're not going to do any more matches until this whole COVID-19 thing goes away or there's a vaccine or we get control of it. He could have done that. That was his first option. There is always a way around the obstacle, always. You just need to get creative and be determined enough to find a solution. Years ago, I used to hire a lot of people, and that was one of the most important things that I looked for when I was choosing who's going to join the team or not. I looked at how resourceful they were. So especially if I was hiring a manager or someone in a leadership position who's making key decisions, I really paid attention to this. Some people, when they encounter problems, they just shut down. They panic, they complain, they over-exaggerate the size of the problem, they predict doom and gloom, they infect everyone else, and ultimately they do nothing. So I don't really like working with those kind of people. I look for people who could quickly switch into finding a solution. That's what mattered the most, resourcefulness. So remember, there's always a way around the obstacle. Always. Don't focus on the problem. Focus on finding a solution. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that. Don't forget to subscribe. Also, there should be a link to join my email list somewhere below. I send out really useful emails every single day that will help you get ahead in your life. So go ahead, subscribe to that, and I'll see you tomorrow.